On Friday, March 15th, 2019, 3 days after the recording of this episode, Drew Koselik's Xbox One breathed its last breath. Purchased at launch, this Day 1 Edition system played a number of great games, including Doom, Gears of War 4, Plants vs. Zombies, Quantum Break, Titanfall 1 and 2, Halo 5, Tomb Raider, and Destiny 1 and 2. In its place rises a new challenger, an Xbox One X. Is there a significant difference? Find out next week on Will and Drew's Gaming Retrospective. Hey everybody, welcome to Will and Drew's Gaming Retrospective. You're listening to episode 18 for the week of March 17th, 2019. I am your host, Drew, and I am joined by the Vanquished Vanquisher, Will.
Hey, that is quite the title. I'll take it.
Isn't that a good one? I'm really proud of that one.
I'm proud of you.
That one. Thank you. Thank you. How are you, bud?
I'm well, man. I am doing more than surviving this week, which is definitely saying a lot.
I'm really glad to hear that. I really can't complain. It's been a busy week. I've been on spring break, but I don't feel like I have been. I've been getting a lot of stuff done that I've been kind of neglecting to do. You know, I'm trying to be an adult and take responsibility for my actions, and I think this has been a good week for that.
Good. Yeah, that's good to kind of have, a lot going on, but you kind of have things in order and you're making progress.
Yeah, I feel like everything is moving in a forward direction and I have forward momentum, so I'm happy.
Good. Glad to hear.
So, first of all, I just want to shout out to everybody for downloading the show. Make sure you're subscribing. If you're not, please do so through Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher Radio, TuneIn Radio. We're on Google Play. Or if you're using a podcast app like Podcast Republic, Beyond Pod, Dogcatch, or whatever, you can find us there as well, too. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at WDGRPodcast. That's at WDGRPodcast. And Will, if somebody would like to follow you on social media, how can they find you?
Will_gear. And
you can follow me at ScionStorm. And let's shoot right on over to the mailbag and dive right in. This is can be found on our Discord channel. The link to our Discord is in the show notes. So if you'd like to send in questions, this is the best way to do so. You can send us questions through social media or email as well, too. But Discord is the best place to do it. Join us and have some fun in the chat. And first question comes from Joe Donuts. He says he's been playing Devil May Cry 5. Seems like most people online are just loving it with no qualifications, but I've been struggling to understand it. The controls seem unnecessarily complicated. I'd be really curious to hear a fellow Bayonetta fan like Will's thoughts on it eventually. I've always assumed Devil May Cry was another one of these character action games, or DMC, excuse me. I've always assumed DMC was another one of these character action games, but it makes more technical games like Ninja Gaiden and Nioh seem elegant in comparison. So I'm not sure if Joe was referring to DMC just as an abbreviation of Devil May Cry or like the relaunch of the game, because I know there's Devil May Cry and then there's DMC, which is like an offshoot of it or something.
Yeah, I'd be happy to explain.
Please do.
Yeah, I kind of thought the same thing for like kind of a fleeting second, but then when I thought about it, I was like, no. Joe is definitely referring to DMC, which is like a Devil May Cry reboot that came out in 2000s. Oh my gosh, I think it was like 2012, somewhere around there. I played a good portion of that game on PC and I believe Xbox 360, and it's really good. It's a lot of fun. A lot of people didn't like it, but I can see why Joe is kind of probing me here, because being a fan of Bayonetta, DMC kind of had a similar play style. It was very fast and smooth and really a lot of fun. With 5, I really have nothing to say. I have nothing to say on it right now because I haven't played it and I don't even know that much about it. I only just found out that it was released very recently because I was in Target and I just happened to see it on a shelf.
Yeah, I mean, it's been out for less than a week at this point. We're recording on Wednesday the 13th, so it looks like the game came out this past Friday, and I mean, I've never really had an opportunity to even try the Devil May Cry games, let alone spend any quality time with them. They look interesting. I'm not even really sure how to describe it. Like, I have no fucking clue what's going on. I just know there's a lot of lights and pretty colors and explosions and giant swords.
That's pretty much it. I don't even really know that much about the series either. I know that the original ones you played as a protagonist, Dante. I don't even really know his last name or really much more than that. But I think there's a common trend where a lot of people haven't played these games because when they first came out, they were released on, I think...
Well, the first one was PS2.
Yeah, PS2, like a lot of them were on that system, I believe. And they were kind of under the radar in some ways because they weren't big AAA titles. They were a little bit more, I guess I wouldn't say exclusive. They were just targeted or directed towards a certain kind of genre and gamer, I think. So unless you were into kind of like high-flying action games that were kind of like, had a lot of Japanese flair, then they weren't really for you.
Yeah. The whole hack and slash genre has been one that I've struggled to get into in the past, and I don't know, they just seem like button mashing games, and I know that's like the furthest thing from the truth. Like, I know there's actually skill that's involved, but like games like that, or even like game like Bayonetta, prior to talking to you and to some of the other guys in the chat, those types of games were things that I would have just kind of looked past.
Yeah.
In the past. Yeah.
A lot of people still do.
Yeah. Yeah. So, hopefully we'll have an opportunity to check this out, Joe, and find out what's going on with the controls. I don't know if it's you or if it's the game, but we'll get to the bottom of it.
Yeah, eventually.
So, Vortex is saying same games this week, PUBG and Rocket. He means Rocket League. He picked up Mario Party to play with his better half. Really fun, but other than that, it's been a quiet week. Good, shut up. Jefferson James finishing up Dark Souls 2 for 100% of the achievements. Wow.
Very admirable.
That is amazing. I want a screenshot that we can memorialize when it's done. He says he just needs to run through one last DLC to complete all spells, and then on to Dark Souls 3. This will complete my self-imposed challenge. I think he meant self-imposed hell. Division 2 releases soon, so I'll be playing that over the weekend. PUBG and my guilty pleasure Fortnite round out my current playlist. Yeah. So he's juggling quite a few things there.
Yeah, keeping it busy there, Tom. I mean, I'm still heartbroken over the fact that Tom and I had a divorce with Dark Souls, but it's okay. We'll get back to it eventually.
Yep, it's thankfully that game doesn't have like multiplayer, does it?
No. So what we were doing is we were kind of doing co-op, which it does have, but it's not really like a co-op feature or like option that you choose in the game. You just kind of have to meet somebody in their world, and they have to summon you to kind of get the co-op going. So it's sort of like a makeshift co-op in a way.
I see. I'm just wondering like if there's servers that could possibly get shut down, and it kind of seems like maybe at some point they could be, but
possibly. I mean, it took years for the Demon Souls servers to be shut down. They were shut down, I want to say, at the end of last year, and that game came out in like 2009.
Oh, okay. That's not too bad. Let's see here. Puckstore has been addicted to Ape Out. It's a game published by Devolver and made by Gabe Cuzzillo. Cuzzillo? You're an ape trying to escape some facility filled with armed guards. It's a top-down game. Feels a little like Hotline Miami in the way action plays out. Of course, you're an ape, so you don't get any weapons other than grabbing panic guards. I would really love a game like Hotline Miami where an ape runs around holding up people with a banana. I think that would be fantastic.
Don't mess with my Chiquita.
Visually, he calls it avant-garde. Says the audio plays into that with a trained improvisational jazz engine that synthesizes the music in reaction to the actions you take as a player. It's all It's on all the platforms, I think, but its snack-sized levels feel like a perfect match for the Switch on the go. It still looks amazing on your television. That might be worth checking out. I like the idea of having snack-sized levels.
That might be an episode title, man. Like when you read that, I was like, that makes a lot of sense. It's a good way of describing a small, tight level.
Snack-sized levels.
Love it.
Love it. All right, hold on a second. I'm just making a note of that, and we go back to the mailbox. Raffy Fatfingers. Jesus Christ, he wrote a book here. Still playing and trying to get more wins in Apex Legends. They accidentally updated an Origin that the battle pass is out, only for it being taken down immediately. After a few hours of the internet freaking out that the battle pass was coming last night, Respawn came out and posted that it's not coming just yet, but it is soon. What is this battle pass? Before I continue, because I know he pivots to another topic here.
It reminds me of like the Battlefield 3 days, because like when you played on Origin for PC, you had a lot of like things like there was battle log and battle this and battle whatever, so it just makes me think of that.
I'm just I'm glancing at gamesradar.com and I'm looking for a quick answer, and they do not have it. But it's going to be like $15.
Okay.
So it's not free after all. Also, in regards to Will's mention of Battlefield 3's beta, that was actually quite interesting. This is referring to a conversation we had last week in episode 17. So feel free to pause and go to listen to that. We'll wait. Okay, welcome back. Also, in regards to Will's mention of Battlefield 3's beta, that was actually quite interesting. This is the basic gist of what was happening as I understand it. During a match, the ground would be taking damage from grenades, tank shells, etc. When the match would end, the server would restart on the same map and restore the graphics of the environment, i.e., the lawn that you just blew a small hole in would be back, except that it wasn't. The graphical textures would be back, but that hole would still be there. So you would dip down slightly into the lawn. That would compound into bigger and bigger holes as you played multiple matches, and eventually you would be able to fall in and not get out. This would fix itself eventually when the server would crash.
Pretty much. Pretty much. That's a very accurate description.
That is just delightful.
Yeah, oh man. Well, first of all, I don't think I really knew you that well, like when this was going on, so I'm not sure what you were playing, but it clearly wasn't this beta.
No, what year was this game?
So the beta would have been 2012. No, 2011, I think.
2011, yeah. So October 2011 was the release date. What the fuck was I playing?
I don't know. That's kind of an interesting thought.
I was probably playing Gears of War.
Which one? 2? It would have been 2 or 3.
No, it would have been. I stopped playing after 2. I didn't really keep up with the games after 2.
Okay.
And I'm pretty sure 3 was out by then. I'm trying to do a timeline of my Xbox 360 because I was wrapped up in a community and kind of like riding the waves with what everybody was playing at that time. But this was like maybe a year or two before the Xbox One came out. So I'm you know what? I was probably waiting for my Xbox to get shipped back to me so I can continue playing Mass Effect after it bricking for the third time.
Oh God.
So you know what? It's like I joked around about all the crashes with Anthem and everything, but now that I'm thinking about it, I've had bad luck with BioWare games for the past 10 years.
Foot and mouth.
Anyway. So thank you to everybody who sent in their notes, their thoughts, and what they're playing this week. Hit us up on the Discord. Shoot us an email at WDGRPodcast@gmail.com. Or, of course, hit us up on social media as well. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at WDGR Podcast. And let us know what you're playing, what you're thinking about in the gaming world, and where you want to go on vacation.
Yeah. Maybe Maui or St. Lucia.
Yeah, I like it.
Chad.
So, now that we've heard about everybody else playing games, what have you been playing?
Vanquish, man.
Did you beat it?
No. I'll tell you the honest truth. So I'm already laughing because this is actually quite funny. So my mission was to beat this game last night, and I was challenged by you and Joe.
We need to give a little bit of background for the listeners that may not be aware.
Yeah, why don't you go ahead with that, Drew?
So essentially, Will has been trying to beat this game for 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
When did we start this podcast? November? Something like that,
yeah,
right?
But I didn't start playing it then.
No, but it wasn't too long after.
Not too long.
I feel like you've been playing this game since January. Would that be fair?
We could go with that for now, but I'm going to have to fact check that later.
All right. Yeah, I definitely want you to. But long story short, both I and Joe have looked up the how long to beat time on this game, and it's 6 to 8 hours. So while neither of us have any expectations of you beating this game in one night, the fact is that you've been playing it for 2 months, and you probably should have beaten it by now.
Yeah.
So Joe threw down a gauntlet last night, and I piggybacked off that gauntlet, which means now I have to step in and get involved. And this is a problem, but I am a man of my word.
Yeah.
Joe said that if you did not beat the game by the time the podcast, the next podcast airs, if you didn't beat the game by the time the next podcast comes out, we would lose a subscriber, right? Well, technically, we're recording almost a week in advance just because of our schedules. So there was almost no way that you were going to beat this game last night. I mean, let's be honest.
No, and that's exactly what happened. Is I was at work when I was discussing this gauntlet and challenge with you guys, and I thought about it and I was like, oh, fuck, like, what have I done? Like, why did I agree to beating this game tonight? Because I have a pretty good feeling that this is just not going to happen. And initially I was like, oh, I should have like time. I mean, I get out kind of late, but if I kind of just watch this one show that I watch every Tuesday with Lauren and then kind of move to the desk and just kind of plug away until it's beat, even if I have to stay up until like, 12 or 1 or maybe even 2, fuck it. What do I have to lose? And this is exactly what happened. So we got done with our show. I was laying down on the couch while we were watching the show, which was like the biggest mistake I could have made. Yep. And I got really tired. And Lauren's like, hey, aren't you supposed to like beat that game? Because I told her about it. And I was like, yeah, fuck that game. I'm going to bed. Those were my exact words. And I'm pretty sure like I threw like a weird like security blanket on the ground. Like it was just... I was like a fucking fussy, like 8-year-old, like after like being super tired on Christmas morning, throwing a blanket on the ground, bitching.
No, I'm not going to beat this game.
Yeah, I'm going to fucking bed. Like that's pretty much what happened. And I didn't even like think twice about it. I didn't even feel bad. I was like, fuck that. I'm not doing it. And then, then today I didn't even really think about it. And then now that you brought it up, I was like, all right, yeah, I didn't beat the game.
So I have this vision of you like standing up in front of Lauren with your hands like in fists, like at your side, your lip like pouting. You're stomping your foot on the ground. I ain't gonna beat this game,
dude. It was pretty close to that. It was pretty close to that. Like I got up. I'm pretty sure I like kind of stretched, kind of like put your arms out, kind of stretch, and I was just like, yeah, fuck that. I ain't playing it. I'm going to bed. Because I was fucking tired, man. I was tired. I completely backed down. Like, I didn't even come close to going to the desk. Like, it's not even like I fired it up and then I was like, no, I'm too beat. Like, it was just a direct, like, fuck that. So,
yeah, it happens to the best of us. But now there are consequences to this statement. First,
potentially, yeah.
Well, first of all, we've lost Joe.
Yeah.
So Joe, I want to thank you for being a part of this. Thank you for being on the show. Thank you for subscribing. We'll maybe I'll see you around on another podcast one of these days. I don't know. Yeah,
I mean, it's like I said, or like we said, thankfully we got him on the show while we did in the time manner that we did because, he's gone. He's probably gone right now. Somehow he knows that it's not beat and he's already gone.
I guarantee you he unsubscribed at like midnight.
Yeah, he was probably sitting there waiting, like with like the mouse like over the unsubscribe button. He was like, "Yeah, fuck it, he ain't gonna beat it."
Because you were playing this on the PS3, right? So,
yes.
So you're logging into PSN. He would have seen you pop up.
Yeah, he would have seen me. So if he didn't see me,
he's gone.
He's gone
already. All right. Thanks, Joe. We love you.
Rip Joe.
Rip Joe.
Maybe that's the episode title.
Oh, that might be. Now the other consequence to this is that I said that if you didn't beat the game by the time we recorded, that I was going to beat the game in time for the next episode.
Fuck that. It ain't happening.
So no. Like I'm throwing down, like we have another week now.
Well,
right?
Well, that's the funny thing is like I get so competitive like when I'm failing at something and then somebody else wants to do it instead of me. And I'm like, no, fuck that. I'm doing it. It's like I don't want to like swallow like that guilt, you know?
We got to go to like a meeting or something, bro.
Oh, for sure, man. This is a real
we
problem.
gotta talk. We got to talk about your feelings.
Big time.
Well, you know, I do want to play the game, and I'm still going to do it, I think.
Go for it, man.
And it's if it makes you feel any better, or if it makes you feel better, it's not to challenge you, but maybe to inspire you.
Sure.
I think I want to inspire you because maybe we can have a lovely conversation about the game. Maybe we can have like a Vanquish retrospective.
Dude, I need like a beach bonfire underneath my ass like 24/7 for me to like beat a game.
You know,
a beach bonfire.
I'm envisioning this, and I don't see video games anywhere on the beach. I see volleyball, I see Coronas, I see a bonfire.
Well, if you think about like a beach bonfire, it's always out of control, right? Like it starts out regular.
Like, that's because you got like drunk assholes ripping apart a boat at the dock and like bringing over like, let's see if we can fit this mast in there. Hold on.
Yeah.
Just hey, Pete, help me out.
Fuck the flag, dude. Throw it in. Throw the oars in. Dude, how are we going to get home? Yeah, fuck it, dude. Throw it in.
We'll swim.
Yeah, we'll swim, dude. Michael Phelps it. Come on. Stop fucking around. Throw it in. Fucking Chad's just like fucking lifting up the mast like it's like a Scottish like games competition.
Oh man, that does sound like a Scottish game too.
Yeah, because they do that kind of shit. They like lift up like fucking tree trunks and shit.
You see that stone they have? That like these now there's 2 women that have been able to lift them up. There's like these 2 gigantic stones, and only 2 women in the entire world have actually been able to lift them. Most guys can't even do it.
Yeah, I believe it, man.
And it's just like I'm Scottish, and like I know. Like, this is the kind of shit, like, Scots do. Like, we just fucking torture ourselves, and we call it a game.
Yeah. All while wearing a kilt.
Yeah, it's fucking fun, you know? We're just gonna, like, give ourselves, like, the worst possible thing to do, put ourselves through hell, and be like, all right, now we're gonna go get drunk.
Yep, pretty much.
Yeah. So, well, hopefully, We'll hear an update on Vanquish from you for next week.
I hope so, man. I'm rooting for myself.
I'm rooting for you too, and I know Joe would be if he was still subscribing to the show.
Yeah.
So, I'm still playing Anthem.
Okay.
But my gaming time has been diminished this week, so I haven't put as much time into it. There's been a lot of bullshit with this game.
Let's hear it.
And so they released a new patch. A few days ago.
Oh, really?
And the patch for a brief amount of time was like exploding with loot, right? And people like were getting like all kinds of just like nonstop high tier weapons and things like that. And then a few hours later, somebody at BioWare caught on and nerfed that part of it. And now it's like it's back to like where it was before. And people are just like furious. And I don't know how I feel about it because at one hand, like when you start getting weapons that have like fancy names and stuff, I think like getting those weapons should be special. But on the other hand, I feel like, you know, people are looking for this experience where it's kind of like Diablo and Borderlands, where it just like rains, you know, guns and ammo, or rains like weapons and armor rather. And you could kind of just break everything down that you don't like, keep what you do, and just be on this elusive search to get like the perfect roll.
Sure.
Because everything is all the stats are randomized each time.
Okay.
So I understand both sides, but I think at this point, like the game Like people are so frustrated with the game that they're like, hey, this is the one thing that they could actually control that people are enjoying, and they keep taking it away from us, so we're pissed.
Yeah, oh, man, that I hate to like bring up Battlefield again, but like this just kind of makes me think about how a lot of us would meticulously comb through like
Mm-hmm.
patch notes and gun tweaks and things like that, and they were
Oh yeah.
always like these crazy like PDF files or whatever, or like long lists of stuff. And sometimes, even if you didn't read it, you would notice like a boost on something and it would be like, oh, fuck yeah, they finally fixed this. And then sometimes they'd be like, whoa, 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 I guess we did it too much. And then
Right.
they would take it away and you're like, no, like, and then it just goes back to being shitty again.
And like when you're dealing with a game that has multiplayer in it, that it is really difficult to balance weapon versus weapon when you're looking at PvP, because you have some people that you're playing against that have been playing the game 100, 200, 300, 400 hours, and they have every weapon in the game, and maybe you've only put in 5 or 10 hours yourself, and you need to be able to be somewhat competitive against them.
Sure.
And if you have weapons that are just too overpowered, it ruins the experience. But Anthem is a single player game. It's a co-op game. So I guess it's multiplayer in that way, but there is no player versus player. So
Okay.
there's no reason not to allow people to have the crazy shit that they want.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're worried about nerfing things like nerfing the guns or stuff, maybe let the guns be still ridiculous and buff the enemies or so. I don't know what the solution is, but the community at large is just really pissed. And then on top of it all, like there's just like the dumbest fucking bugs. Like there's this one bug where like as you progress through the game, you unlock all these different slots for gear, and you can have up to 6 of them for a certain type of gear, right?
Yeah.
So those 6 slots are supposed to stack, and they do some kind of crazy math to make this work. But if you remove items from those stats, the math still factors in that empty slot. So it ends up buffing you even more. So you could walk in with 1 piece of gear instead of 6 and cause more damage with that 1 piece of gear than you would with the 6 pieces of gear.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, it's stupid shit like that. It's like, how did this stuff get past QC?
Yeah. Oh, man, that kind of stuff really is aggravating.
Yeah, I mean, there's no rhyme or reason for it. That's the kind of thing that absolutely should have gotten caught. Like it just doesn't add up.
No,
Like you're supposed to be the more gear you have, the more powerful you're supposed to be. It's not supposed to be inverse.
Right.
But anyway, that's enough for me.
So that's kind of what's going on with your experience then as a whole.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like I played for a little while last night, and I actually got my first Masterworks weapon, which is like their second to top tier.
Mm-hmm.
This is when the weapons start getting fun, where they start having perks and abilities outside of the normal guns. And I was playing around with a pistol called Avenging Herald, and if you're hovering with your javelin, it increases the damage by 200%. So it benefits you to hover with that gun at all times. Now that caters to certain classes. The Colossus is not a class that hovers very well. He's more like ground and pound kind of thing.
Uh-huh.
So this gun is not good for him, but it is good for the Storm or for like the Ranger, who tend to be more airborne. So like you could kind of see where like things are kind of getting catered to certain classes now. There's a lot of depth to the game, and they just keep fucking it up. I don't know how else to put it, really.
So it sounds like we're still kind of in the same boat, for people that have.
Oh yeah, they're losing players. And if they don't do something soon, they might not get them back.
Well, I think I spoke to Joe about this game before it came out,
Mm-hmm.
and he said, "What did he say?" He said, I'm trying to remember now. He was like, "Oh yeah, if that game ever comes out," because I said to him, I was like, "What do you think about this game, Anthem? Like, are you excited for it?" And he just said something along the lines of, "Yeah, if it comes out." Right. And I remember that still, because he must have been saying that because he was aware of how long the game was taking to be released and finish. So maybe some people already had this notion and this knowledge of this game is taking too long, and that's kind of a worry.
Yeah. 6 years.
Oh my God, it really was that long, huh?
6 years in the making. And they had the debacle of Mass Effect Andromeda that they could have learned from, which did have a multiplayer. You know, it was a co-op multiplayer, so there's a lot they could have learned from that. And you know, not to mention the fact that you had games like The Division, Destiny, Warframe is a huge looter shooter. So there's other games in this genre. This isn't like this is the first time the genre is being done. Like, you had examples to look at, what they did right, what they did wrong. You know, they came up with a really unique type of game, you know, where you're kind of flying around and you have like more of the RPG aspect of it. And they've just dropping the ball with bug after bug and knee-jerk reactions without, like, I think, truly listening to the community.
Yeah, it's disappointing, man. I mean, the more I've thought about it and the more I've gone back and looked at the game and read people's, you know, discussions and comments and all of that good stuff, I really think that this does boil down to the fact that the game is fucked. It not fucked forever, but
right.
The fact
right now it is.
Right now it's fucked, and I am starting to think that maybe it is safe to say that that is unacceptable, because even though we've touched on this before many times, and I've gone back and forth about my opinions on whether or not it's right to be like, oh, this game's unfinished, like, fucking bullshit, shouldn't have wasted my $60, like one of those kind of gamers. But, you know, I kind of get it now. I mean, like, gaming is an expensive hobby, and, you know, some people work hard to, you know, pay for a game like that, and they've waited, they pre-ordered, and then they get a game that's broken. And I think, you know, going back and reading what you said about one of the devs, you know, speaking about the cost of transparency and how you kind of are thinking differently about that statement. As much as I enjoyed hearing that, because I thought it was refreshing, I'm starting to think, you know what, like, no, like maybe this, you know, statement that was released by this guy, maybe that's not okay.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, I've been, I think, maybe overly apologetic to them or overly defensive of them up to this point, and I'm kind of regretting some of that.
But that's fine, though. I mean, you're passionate about games. You're passionate about BioWare. So I think it's fair to kind of have this state of, you know, denial, or you're defending them and you're thinking, no, like, they know what they're doing, this and that. And that's fine. I think that's totally normal. You know, it would be like if Chris Nolan released like a really bad film and you're like, no, it's not that bad, and like, here's why. And it's like, no, dude, like, it's just bad.
Yes. Sometimes good developers make bad games.
It's possible, and it's disappointing and disheartening, but you know what? Maybe this was one of their failures. I really don't know. I just hope that it gets better for you, and I hope it gets better for everybody else.
You know, I'm remaining optimistic. I think for me, it's different because of the frequency that I play. You know, the loudest voices tend to be the ones that have already been playing the end game for a while, and they have, you know, over 100 hours into the game. And you know, for me, like, I have an opportunity to pick up my Xbox controller a couple times a week, you know, and maybe I'll play an hour here, an hour there. So for me, like, I'm not feeling the brunt of those loot explosions, and, you know, because I never experienced one. And so, like, I thought it was something that I was thinking about too, and this may be a good topic for another show. It's like, I'm really plugged into what's going on in the internet. Like, I spend a lot of time on Reddit. I spend a lot of time reading articles on gaming and things of that nature. So I'm constantly surrounded by whatever the hive mind mentality is, positive or negative. And if I were a gamer that had no access to a computer or no access to a cell phone, how would I feel about this game?
Yeah.
You know, and I truly believe that perhaps ignorance is bliss, and I would be a little less aggressive than I am right now.
Oh my gosh. I mean, I think that we need to discuss this topic on another podcast, because what you just brought up is such a huge, you know, idea, and this notion of thinking, you know, what would gaming be like if we went back in time and the internet was what it was now then?
Yeah.
You know, like when FF7 came out and we had the capabilities that we have now, what would what would change about that game in terms of opinions and patches and what people were, saying about it and your opinion on it. And I think that that's why a lot of those older games we cherish and we gravitate towards, because back then games came out complete and some of them actually were kind of broken, but we never really noticed, or we did. And we saw it as like a, just kind of this abnormality that was just kind of present in some video games.
I also think that our tolerance was higher too. I think the rate that games come out and the fact that we, and I think a big part of it is our age and the fact that we have jobs and, have our own income. Like, we're not stuck with a game. If we buy this game and we don't like it, we could either bring it back to GameStop, trade it in and get something, or just put it on the shelf and let it sit for a while and come back to it later. Meanwhile, we'll go buy something else. Division 2 came out. I'm not sure if it's out already or if it's coming out or what the deal is. But a lot of people are really looking forward to that game. And, the first one had a lot of problems at launch. And I hear they got better, but I didn't stick around for the game to find out. I moved on.
Well, here's the thing, without, making this a whole new episode, I think that it's really sad that you have a lot of gamers that will very quickly, like, let's say Division 2. It comes out, let's say it's out like today, and you have gamers that'll go on the internet very quickly, look at a couple reviews and read a couple comments and be like, nope, I'm not getting it. Everybody's saying it's bad. And then they like literally don't get it. And it's like, whoa. Like, you're going to put that much trust in like a couple reviews and a couple people's comments you saw in like a YouTube video. Like, you need to either buy the game or find a way to rent it and like give this company and give this game a chance, because think about the amount of games that people would have passed on that maybe could have been a really good game and they just trusted, too many people on the internet. So like I said, we're going to have to save that for another episode, because I could really rant about that for a while.
Yeah, me too. And I didn't mean to open up a can of worms, but
hey, it happens, man.
It happens. All right, so let's move on to our main, I don't know if it's a topic. This is something new. And I actually want to give a shout out to another podcast I listen to. Shout out to Mike over at Two Dopeless Hope Fiends for the idea for this. I'm taking one of their ideas and kind of modifying it for our needs. And check out their podcast as well, too. That's a great podcast about pop culture, movies particularly, recovery, addiction recovery. These guys are awesome. They have like 380 episodes. It's absurd. So wow. Yeah, and like, I don't know how they're machines. They're absolute machines. But
that's Joe Rogan status.
Yeah, it really is. But great show. Go check them out. Two Dopeless Hope Fiends. I'll drop a link in the show notes as well here. They have this little game they play where basically they give each other a movie title, and the other person tries to guess the Rotten Tomatoes score. And I thought it would be kind of cool to adapt that to video games. So Will has entrusted me in trying to explain this to him.
Yeah, for folks that don't know me that well, I am so terrible at like weird games and like even some board games. I'm just like, wait, what? Like, unless it's something like ridiculously simple, I'm not very good at retaining like game rules. And Drew kind of compared this to golf, and immediately my brain, like all the cylinders just stopped working. I'm like, whoa, just help. So
the idea is, the only way it's like golf is because of the scoring, right? We're trying to say lower numbers are better. So we're going to go back and forth. We each have picked out 5 games. We have not told each other what the 5 games are. And I'll give Will a game. We'll talk a little bit about it. Will's going to try to guess the Metacritic score. And whatever his score is, I'm going to, figure out the difference. If it's 5 points, if it's 10 points, if it's 20 points, whatever, that's the score he gets. Then he'll ask me a game and it'll be the same thing. We'll add up them all, and whoever has the lowest score actually wins.
Let's do it.
So Will, hold on to your hat here. Yeah.
I'm white knuckled.
Do you want to give me a game first, or would you like me to ask you one first?
I'll give you a game.
Okay. I'm ready.
All
this
right.
is Metacritic Madness until I come up with a better name.
All right. Here we go. So, first
All right.
game, Metal Gear Solid 4.
Metal Gear Solid 4. This is PlayStation 3, right?
Yes, it is.
So just for the listeners, we are playing this on the honor system. I am not Googling this as we speak. If you hear key typing, it is completely unrelated. No, no, I'm the completely honor system here. So Metal Gear Solid 4. I remember picking this game up for the PS3, well after it had been out for a while, and I was really just kind of disappointed with it.
Okay.
And I don't remember why. But I know a lot of people liked it.
Yeah.
I know it was pretty popular. Didn't this have like a 60-minute like intro?
Sort of. So the deal with that is the intro was kind of lengthy. It definitely wasn't 60. What you're thinking of is there's a particular cutscene in the game that I believe is about an hour long. And that was a huge controversial topic, I think, for a while, and still kind of is, because you have, you know, a lot of Kojima fans and Metal Gear fans that are like, oh no, like that's the beautiful part about the games and like this and that, and they justify it and they defend it. And then you have your more, I guess, not even weekend warrior, but just more of your casual gamer that maybe isn't so hardcore into the series, and they're going to look at that and be like, dude, like what? Like, how do I skip this? Or like, this is 60 minutes, this is outrageous. So that game is one of my favorite games of all time, and I'm not really going to go into such a huge explanation as to why, but I think that that game received a lot of, I don't know, blowback and pushback from a lot of gamers for the lengthy cutscenes and for some of the story elements and things like that. So it's one of those kind of cult classics that was like huge in any Metal Gear series, you know, for the fans. It was a huge dynamic game, but not for your casual gamer.
I feel like this is like an indie film that's like a critical success, but like just flops for the audiences.
Sort of, yeah. I mean, I wouldn't go as far as comparing it to like one of those movies that no one's ever heard of and it wins like 18 Oscars. It isn't like that, but you can kind of compare it to that in some ways. This game was for the fans.
I'm going to say 88.
Okay. It was 94.
94, okay. So 6 points, right? 6-point difference there? All right, so I'm starting out with a 6. Let's see here. Hold on a second. You know what? Let's just fucking start at the top right now. Anthem.
Okay.
Xbox One. I know we've talked about this game at length here, but man, it's been a wild ride.
It certainly has, man. I feel like in some ways I've been sort of at the back of the roller coaster, right? Like you've been at the front, like you're the one that's like, oh my fucking God, like you're screaming, they're catching you on camera. And for me, I'm just like, wow, this is like kind of shitty because I'm at the back and I also hate roller coasters. Yeah.
I mean, at some point, next time you're over, I'll have to have you fire it up and play it.
Yeah, I need to.
I think you'll enjoy it. I think it's fun, but there's a lot wrong.
Yeah, I think if I had that opportunity, I probably wouldn't necessarily notice some of these things, or maybe I would. I really don't know, but I think that I need to get my hands on it.
Any thoughts on a score?
Ooh, this is a good one. I'm gonna go with 70.
66, pretty close, man.
Ooh, okay.
So Will, you are currently in the lead with 4 points. I am trailing behind with 6.
Yes.
All right. Let's go on next.
So we're going to move to Dark Souls.
Oh, these games scare the shit out of me.
As they do most.
And not because of like, you know, they're scary games, but just the idea of investing so much time into something that's so utterly brutal.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. I mean, these games are tough as nails, man. I mean, I guess you could kind of compare them to maybe Ninja Gaiden.
Yeah.
In terms of difficulty, obviously, like the games are totally different. But in terms of that kind of tough as nails challenge that you find in not a lot of games now, Uh, that would be the one game that I can think of, off the top of my head that you can kind of compare it to. Because for anybody who's played like Ninja Gaiden Black and Ninja Gaiden Sigma, those games are like, you will just want to quit your life or break a controller or break something. But they're so good, and that's why like Dark Souls is such a favorite game of mine, because it has those qualities where like the story elements and the way that they tell the story and the challenge that's there is very demanding, but it keeps you coming back.
Yeah. I feel like the first one was probably not as well received, though. I'm gonna say 77.
Okay. We're looking at 89.
Fuck.
And I will say that, surprisingly enough, the first game is actually one of the most received in terms of...
Really?
Yeah. It ended up being, I would say, like, out of all the people that are Dark Souls fans, they're going to say that the first one is their favorite game.
Huh. Well, that shows how much I'm in tune with the audience. All right. So I'm losing by a wide margin at this point. Okay, we are going to the original Xbox with this one. This is actually one of my favorite original Xbox games, Advent Rising. Do you remember that?
I do not. Like, the name kind of rings a distant bell.
So here's from the back cover. The foundations of the universe are about to be violently shaken apart. A timeless prophecy threatens the order of galactic civilizations, and one legendary race stands at the epicenter. You are Gideon Wyeth, an unlikely hero who will become the catalyst for the transcendence of his kind. The advent of humanity begins. It features stunning single-player gameplay presented with gorgeous cinematic design, a sweeping, evolving story by award-winning sci-fi author Orson Scott Card, who, if you're not familiar with him, he wrote Ender's Game. 12 amazing weapons, 8 superhuman powers, all with unique alternate fire abilities. Intense vehicular combat as you fly, drive, and battle with 3 incredible vehicles. And you get to seamlessly switch between third and first person perspectives. This was available on the PlayStation 2 and the PC as well. Wow.
I have no idea. I don't think I've really ever heard about this game.
It was one of those games that, like, fundamentally it was pretty flawed. Wasn't exactly the best game, but something about it just really resonated with me at the time, and it was a game that I ended up seeing through. I think it was a really well presented game, even though it was broken in some ways. Very ambitious. It was supposed to be a trilogy, I believe, and never got past the first one.
I'm gonna go with 70.
God damn you. 68.
Nice.
So Will is destroying me by 12 points right now.
Crushing it.
All right. You're up.
All right. Inside.
That's the one that we were talking about playing that.
Yes.
For Limbo.
Yes.
So tell me a little bit about this game.
Sure. So Inside is very similar to Limbo in terms of the layout of the game. It's a side-scrolling, not 2D, but sort of that new kind of side-scrolling indie format that a lot of these games are using. And basically you play as a little boy, or not, he's actually not so little anymore. I would say he's more of like a teenager, I guess. It's kind of hard to tell. But either way, you are trapped in some kind of experiment from what you can see and understand. And you're in this sort of dark, seedy world of, chain link fences and dogs chasing you. There's so many different sort of areas that you kind of like navigate through. It's really hard to describe the setting because it's very dark, it's very weird, and you just feel trapped and you're clearly trying to find your way out. and you witness a lot of like really creepy things. It's a very difficult game to describe, and I think by describing it too much, I would spoil it for the listeners.
I do want to fire that up one of these days. Maybe when we regroup and start doing our indie playthroughs again.
Yes, I think that would be a perfect time. But it's an outstanding game. This is in my top. I would maybe even go as far as saying top 5.
94.
91.
I'll take it.
Not bad.
I'll take it. So now we have a score of 21-6 for Will. Let's see here. Sega Dreamcast. We are going with Seaman.
Oh my God. I have something to say about this.
Yes, let me hear it.
So, Leonard Nimoy voiced the fish, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Is it safe to say that the fish was Seaman?
I believe that's the idea, yeah.
Okay. So, this game was on the Dreamcast only, I believe.
Correct.
And it came with a little microphone.
Correct.
And it had like a little green like boom mic cover thing on it. And
it was like a windscreen.
Yeah, and you would and you would plug it into the Dreamcast controller, like in the little VMU port. And I believe you could actually have a VMU and the mic. And from what I understand, I've never played it, but I did own this game at one point because I bought it off of somebody. You could communicate to the fish.
Yeah.
Who, mind you, also had a face that resembled Leonard Nimoy, I believe.
Well, the face was a little bit more generic, I would say. The face didn't look much like Leonard.
Okay.
But it absolutely was him doing the voice. I'm trying to remember if he did the voice for the fish or the actual just the voiceovers themselves, like narration.
It's got to be a collector's item at this point.
I hope so, because I have a copy.
Good. Don't get rid of it.
With the microphone somewhere. I'm not sure where it is, but I do have a microphone.
I just imagined you like up at 3:00 in the morning, just like playing Seaman. And you're trying to be quiet about it too. Like you're like whispering in the window screen.
The funny thing is too, like the whole thing is basically like capitalizing on the virtual pet craze that was happening around then.
Okay.
This came out in 2000 in North America. And I guess in Japan there was a PlayStation 2 version, but it was primarily a Dreamcast game. And you could feed the thing and, try to raise like it to grow through all these different stages, but you could actually communicate with it too. And it would respond to you accordingly. So if I said to Seaman, like, hey, Seaman, you suck, he would say, so does your mother.
So this is like the original like Siri.
Kind of, yeah. Yeah. I mean, you weren't going to get directions to the pizza store, but
no.
The pizza store.
Such a bad example.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it was an interesting game. I think if you had a Dreamcast, if you have a Dreamcast and you haven't played it, I think it's worth seeking out and finding just to experience.
Yeah.
It has zero replayability as far as I'm concerned.
Oh, I'm sure. This is a game that you want to like maybe drink and then play with like friends.
Yeah. But it is time consuming because nothing happens immediately. Like, you feed the thing, you put it away, you come back a couple days later and now it's grown. Like, you're not going to sit down like Vanquish and play it in 6 hours and be done. Like, this is a game that gestates. Because it has an internal clock, it's all tied in with the VMU.
Yeah, I could imagine a lot of people that probably have played that game drunk. And they're just yelling like, fuck you, Leonard.
Yeah. And you can kill the fish too.
Oh, I'm sure. So score-wise, I want to go with... this one's tough. I'm going to go with 50.
Ooh, Will, you just lost your lead, boy. 82.
What? That is outrageous.
82, Metacritic.
I know nothing about this game besides the facts that I've explained, and that game does not deserve that score.
Like I'm looking through the lineup of reviews that they use for the score, and Metacritic is only factoring in like professional reviews. They have a separate thing for user scores.
Mm.
GamePro, CNET, IGN are some of the critic reviews, and they're hitting it pretty high. So that's 32 points, my friend.
Oh, that hurts.
That hurts big time. So now you are up to 38, and I have 21.
All right. Here we go.
Let's move on.
Bayonetta.
Oof.
What do you know about this game, Drew? You better know something.
Leather-clad chick that likes to slay demons and looks hot.
That's a pretty good synopsis.
I think that's like the entire plot.
Yeah. Kinda. The short-winded version, I guess.
I know that I have a copy of it that I've gotten for free from Xbox Live.
Oh,
so
nice.
It's something that I will be able to play on either my 360 or my Xbox One at some point. I'm just looking to carve some time, but apparently I have to play Vanquish first, so there's that.
Yes, you do. So I've talked about this game enough. What do you think this game is scored at?
I mean, so this is one of those kind of things like Devil May Cry, where like people that love it, I feel, and people that don't really know about it.
I think that's fair.
This is kind of I don't want to say it's a niche game, but I think, well, I guess it kind of is.
It kind of is.
Because there's a lot of cheesecake that's involved in it. There's a lot of flashiness and like you kind of get wrapped up in the whole genre, I feel. So I feel like fans of Devil May Cry are probably fans of this game. I'm going to say the first one 85.
Okay. 90.
All right. I feel good about that. So that's a 5-point difference.
I was actually shocked to see it at that kind of score at 90. That's high considering everything that we've talked about.
Yeah, I feel like 90 was probably I would have been more apt to see that for like subsequent versions of the game. I feel like the first one probably would have been a little experimental, and I think they probably would have refined it and honed in on it.
I hate to say it, but I kind of like no. so it's kind of like my remark with Dark Souls 1. For Bayonetta fans, Bayonetta 1 is a huge game. It's, I would say, probably in some ways better than 2, even though I still haven't finished 2.
Okay.
2 is incredible, but there's something really special about 1. And I think a lot of that is the soundtrack and just the fact that she looks a little bit different. And it's just kind of, it's like, I don't know, like think of a movie series where the first movie is the best. I guess you could take Star Wars. I mean, let's just use that as an example. A lot of people really enjoyed A New Hope.
Yeah.
So for Bayonetta, it's kind of the same thing. But 90, that's like a score that I would give it, not kind of like a general score. So it's a little bit high.
Yeah. Yeah. So coming off as a fan, like, interesting. Well, I mean, that actually encourages me to play it even more.
Yeah, it's a great game, man.
It's that high of a score at this point. So, all right, let's go to the PlayStation 2. Although this game is available on GameCube and PC as well. The PlayStation 2 version is the one I'm working with here. Pac-Man World 2.
Oh, Jesus. Why?
Because it's on my shelf and I've actually played it.
Damn you.
I didn't beat it, though. Pac-Man is on a brand new adventure and once again dealing with the pesky Ghost Gang. His new quest takes him through 6 new lands.
Ooh.
Plenty of new surprises. Brand new features include ice skating, rollerblading, submarine diving, and many other exciting puzzles to solve.
All right, so here is my background and experience with Pac-Man. I would say the original Pac-Man and like Ms. Pac-Man is about as far as I've gone with this series.
So I have a spoiler alert for you. Those are the only 2 games that really matter.
Okay.
You should probably never play any of the other ones ever.
Yeah, like
I do have a Pac-Land on the TurboGrafx 16. That's a very interesting beast, but go on.
I think that when it comes to this particular series, you want this to stay true to its heart and to its core gameplay, which is I just want to eat, the little fucking round things and avoid the ghosts.
Mm-hmm.
That's what people think of when they think of Pac-Man, and Ms.
agree.
Pac-Man. So when you mention ice skating, I'm just already like I am thinking about something completely different. Like I'm checked out. Like I don't want to ice skate as Pac-Man. I want to
Nope.
eat like the cookies or whatever the fuck they are.
Yeah. Pellets.
Pellets. I want to eat the pellets and I'm going to avoid the ghosts. And I want that 4-way directional, joystick and the one button if there even is one. And that's it.
Yeah. Well, this isn't it. You can run and jump and ice skate.
I'm going to go with, oh my gosh. I really don't want to screw this up. 45.
Aiming way too low, my friend.
Oh no.
73.
That is, you can kiss my ankle. That's not a real score.
I will send you the link.
I'd rather not. I don't want to face my fears of reality.
We're never playing this game again, are we?
Never. It's like I just shunned Drew after the show. Why did we do this? It was such a bad idea.
Pretty much. Well, the good thing is like we can have our guests play this too, and then they could be wrong.
That could be fun. We could just sit back and watch.
Yeah. So, Will, you were currently up to 66 points. I have a 40-point lead.
Jesus.
All right, so I think we have one game left each, right?
Yep, Skyrim.
Oh, God. Which one is this?
The only one.
No, but I mean, like...
Oh, the Elder Scrolls?
Yeah, like, that's the thing that confuses the shit out of me. Like, I don't understand where these games start and stop.
Okay, so I actually don't know the answer. I think one... Yeah, I have no idea. I don't know which one this is because I don't know what the first one is. I know there's like Morrowind, which was huge on like PC and I think PS3 and Xbox 360. I don't know, man. I'm going to say like 3 or 4. But I don't think that's really what matters. What matters is what do you know about this game?
I know that people like devote their lives to playing it and never beating it.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like it's this vast, endless world with nothing but side quests, and I'm not even entirely sure there's a story. I know that there probably is, but I couldn't even begin to tell you what the story is.
Okay, so you haven't played this game.
I have not played any of the Elder Scrolls games.
Okay, so
they're just it's a genre that I just don't have any interest in.
All right, so this is going to be good. So I had no interest in these games either until everybody was hyped on this game to come out, and this was 2011. I know that for sure. So I got the game after a few people got it, and they were just raving about it. I was like, you know what? Maybe this is the right game to start this series. And It was. I fell in love with it immediately. And that's saying a lot because I don't play these kinds of games. I'm not like an MMO guy. This kind of game is not that really at all. But like a lot of those MMO games are based in this kind of setting, like, fantasy and dragons and stuff like that.
Right.
But I would say that it was my first entry into, I guess, a fantasy open world RPG, which essentially, I guess it kind of falls into that bracket. Or genre. But either way, man, this game it's outstanding. At one point, I think I actually do remember saying, this is my favorite game I've ever played of all time. Now, I take that back.
Wow.
I take that back. Like, that statement does not, it hold true anymore. But on that particular moment, there was something that just made me want to say that.
Yeah.
So this was 2011. That was a long time ago. Times have changed. Games have changed. Opinions have changed, but you're right. It's a massive, massive world, giant map. You can fast travel. It's dragons. There's spells. There's, swords and shields. It's really an endless game. And I think that's why people are still playing it now.
It's been ported to like every single system since 2011 too.
Yeah.
Like it's on the Switch. I don't think they ever put it on the Game Boy or anything like that, but
Yeah, it's kind of like Resident Evil 4, which has been re-released and remastered and HD'd and whatever for I don't know how many times and how many consoles. So it's gone through that phase. There's been DLC. There's been the remaster for PS4, which is really outstanding. What is this game scored at?
98.
You bastard. It's 96.
Wow. I knew it was up there.
Yeah,
I knew it was up there.
I had a feeling that you were going to be kind of on the money with this because even without knowing that much about it, it kind of sounds like a game that would be very successful.
Yeah.
People like games that have that replay value and something that they can just continually grind away at.
Mm-hmm.
And this is it.
I mean, one of these days, I may have to like watch somebody play it. Maybe have you fire it up.
Yeah, I will.
Because I know it's just not for me. In my heart of hearts, I just don't think that that's the type of game that's for me.
It may not be.
I can appreciate something even if it's not for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we'll fire it up on the big screen next time I have you over.
Yeah, I think it's worth doing.
So you have one more for me, right?
I got one more for you, and you better fucking get this
it's
right.
My only chance.
It's your only chance. Realistically, you're done.
I had a good lead. All right, I had a good lead.
You had a really good lead. All right. So this is one of the best racing game franchises of all time, and it's got some of the best music for these types of games ever. We're talking PlayStation 1. When you think of PlayStation 1 and you think of racing games, this game should be one of the ones that you think of.
Gran Turismo.
We're going in the opposite direction here. We're going futuristic. Wipeout XL.
Ooh, okay. That would have been my third guess, I think. Wipeout XL. I've played, I think, one Wipeout game, and I don't remember what console it was for.
Probably the PlayStation.
I remember it being really fun.
Yeah, these games they're fast and they're a blast.
I actually do enjoy some racing games. It's definitely, I don't think I even own one or ever really have, but if somebody has something like Wave Race 64, if it's a throwback or if it's, Grid or any kind of car racing game or Mario Kart or whatever, I'll usually have a pretty good time playing it. With Wipeout XL, I don't know if I played that one, but gosh, I don't have a whole lot to say about it. Do you know much about it?
Yeah, it's one of those games that I love to play, but I suck at it. Just utterly, completely, I'm just terrible at it. It's fast. It's all drifting. It's but just gorgeous, and the soundtrack is just synonymous with it too. There's some great music in there, especially if you're into the electronica stuff. I'm looking up the soundtrack now.
Would this be comparable to F-Zero?
It's very similar, I think, both in style and speed. And when we're talking F-Zero, GameCube, right?
Yeah.
We're not talking SNES, yeah.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, just looking at the the Wipeout soundtracks have always had just great artists. Chemical Brothers, Prodigy, Future Sound of London, just to name a few, and that's just on the Wipeout 2097 soundtrack. So that's as much part of the experience as the game itself.
Oh, a soundtrack can really make or break a game.
Yeah. So, but yeah, really just a great game all around. I just suck at it, but I enjoy it.
Hey, that's okay. You got to have fun. Score wise, Wipeout XL. What system was this for?
PlayStation 1.
And that's it?
I believe so, unless it PC as well. It was not PC.
Okay.
I'm reviewing the PlayStation 1 copy.
80.
Gotta go higher, bro. 13 points extra. 93.
Wow. That's a good score for a game
Yeah,
like that.
I mean, for the time, like if you were looking at it by today's standards, I think an 80 is a pretty good score.
Yeah,
But
I should have dialed it forward, like you said,
yeah,
because I think I dialed that one back a little too much to, 2019's standards.
I agree.
Because right now I don't think there's really any game that's like that, let alone like many car racing games.
I'm not sure when the last Wipeout game came out either. Like
Maybe Dreamcast? That might be way too far back, but
let's see here. No, they came out with one on the PlayStation 4.
really?
I think it's a remaster though.
Oh, okay.
Let's see here.
So we need
Legacy.
an actual game.
Did they come out with one on the PlayStation 4? Wipeout. All right, so there was one on the N64, and then let's see here.
Wait, there should have been one on the PS3, I think.
There was, but
Yeah, because I think I had a demo for one on the PS3.
Here we go. I found the article I'm looking for. So we had Wipeout 3 was on the PlayStation, Wipeout Fusion, PS2, PS Portable, Wipeout HD. Wipeout HD is the one that you're thinking of, I think.
Yeah.
And then there was Wipeout 2048 on the Vita. And then on the PS4 is Wipeout Omega Collection, which is a remaster of Wipeout HD and Wipeout 2048. So yeah, I mean, they're still making these games, and there's still demand for them.
Yeah, that was the last one that I played. It was a demo. It was Wipeout HD on PS3.
I'm looking at their Metacritic scores, and all right, so Excel's not listed here, but they don't go below like 83%. This is on the Wikipedia article. They have an aggregate of all the scores, and like these games are 80s to 90s throughout. Okay, one of them went down to 79%. So they've been holding a pretty high standard of quality for all these years.
Yeah, that's cool to see. There's definitely a lot of game series that exist out there that kind of hold their value and hold like such a good score, like Geometry Wars, Super Stardust HD, games like that. They're just timeless. They release like one or two, and then they just kind of sit on like this high score and high download rate for like ever.
Yeah. It's pretty crazy.
Well, that was fun.
So yeah, man. Hopefully you enjoyed it. I know you got your ass whooped. But in all seriousness, though, this is something that hopefully we'll be able to play again. Not every episode, obviously, but every few weeks or so. And if you're listening to this and you liked it or you disliked it or you have any recommendations on how we can make it better, let us know. It's the first time we've done it, and hopefully we'll do it again.
Yeah, I enjoyed it, man. I think that for listeners and for guests, it's going to help us just kind of expand our library on knowledge of games too, because it just creates that nice stimulating conversation about, Pac-Man ice skating.
Exactly. I didn't even think I would be talking about Pac-Man ice skating today when I sat down to record.
Never in my life did I ever think I was going to bring it up.
Yeah. So on that note, Will, we got to wrap things up. Got anything else you want to add before we call it a night?
Keep rooting for me. You can always visit me. I think, if you want to kind of bring flowers, chocolates, motivational support, send me a letter, a fax.
I'm going to take a photo of the scores and I'm going to post them in our Discord.
Maybe
and I'm not going to have any context.
Maybe we could actually have like a real beach bonfire and somehow we can just get me suspended over it. Yeah. But just enough to like where I feel the heat, but not actually get burned. So it'd have to be pretty high above it. Yeah.
We'll see what we can do about that. I have a bonfire in my backyard.
You do. You have one of those.
I don't have a beach, but
no, you got a bonfire from like Home Depot.
Walmart.
How dare you?
That was like the first thing we did, like our first trip to Walmart.
Yeah. You got to the house,
anyway.
There's all these boxes still left to be unpacked. You're like, no, before we do anything, honey, we got to get that Walmart bonfire.
Yeah. It's great. I love it. On that note, everybody, thank you so much for hitting that download button and subscribing to the show. Check us out on social media at WDGR Podcast. That's on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Follow us everywhere you can. Join us in the Discord room. Say hello. Have a lovely chat with us. Talk about your pets, whatever you want to do. And I feel like I'm missing something else. Will, how can they follow you on social media?
Will_gear.
And you can follow me at Science_Storm. Am I missing anything else in the closing?
I think we're good. Follow us on Discord. That is a huge thing.
Yeah.
Please follow us. Like it's gaining a lot of momentum. We're really enjoying the feedback and the conversation. And we're going to be plugging that a little bit more for everybody else. So Discord.
Yeah. It's a really great community, and we're having a lot of fun. We got a lot of great people in there, and that's going to be the best way to get in touch with us so we can discuss stuff on the air too.
Definitely.
So on that note, thank you, everybody. We'll see you next week.
See ya.